Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay Pearson of Lindsay Pearson Photography, and today we're going to talk about shutter speed. So I've been trying with these short little videos, I've been trying to get you to be a little bit more comfortable using your fancy DSLR camera in manual mode. So we've talked about ISO, which is your camera sensitivity to the light. We've talked about aperture, which is the amount of light your camera is letting in through your lens. So what is shutter speed? It's what we're talking about today. Shutter speed is the amount of time that your camera is letting that light in. It's from the time that you hit this button, your shutter, to take your picture. So shutter speed's gonna be measured in fractions of a second. So it's gonna be 1 over a number. So 1/30th, most of the time. 1/30th, 1/60th. So it's gonna be 1/60th of a second, 1/30th of a second, 1/200th of a second. You get it, one all the way up to, 1/2000th and higher of a second. So the lower that number is, the slower your shutter speed is. The higher that number on the bottom is, the faster your shutter speed's gonna be. So let's take a look on the back of your camera and let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here we are on the back of, on the menu of my old Canon Rebel is what I'm using. And like we talked about before, here's your ISO, your aperture or f-stop, and your shutter speed. The important thing about your shutter speed, I am moving this with my dial right here, back and forth. Now with your shutter speed, so here we're getting into faster shutter speeds, 1/800th. We can go back down and get into a slower shutter speed, and you can even get to lower than a fraction of a second. But what you want when you're looking at this light meter right here, you want this at 0 in the middle to be exposed properly. And when you move your shutter speed, it will move the ticker on your light meter. You see that? So at 1/100th, my image is going to be exposed properly, is what this is telling me, because that little ticker mark is on the 0. Maybe I need to make it, oh, now it's going to be underexposed because I'm at a little bit faster of a shutter speed. I go up a little slower, it's going to be way overexposed at 1/50th of a second and blurry. So we have blurred motion at slower, stopped motion at a faster shutter speed. So when you have a slow shutter speed, that's the lower number on the bottom, then that means that your camera's shutter is going to be open longer. You're going to be letting more light in, but the motion is going to be blurred. So why would you need a slow shutter speed? If you're trying to capture that motion, the swing of a bat, a person running, a race car driving fast, you know, if you are trying to purposefully capture that motion, and then you want that blur and you want that slow shutter speed. In that case, you are going to want to put your camera on a tripod because you don't want your shakiness to affect your image. You want to just be capturing the motion of your subject. Most of the time, if you're a portrait photographer, especially like me, you're going to want that shutter speed to be faster. So let me show you some examples. Okay, so this little flower pinwheel was spinning very quickly when I took this. If you notice the shutter speed, 1/2500th of a second is very fast. It's gonna stop that motion and give you a sharp, crisp image. This is what you wanna do when you're taking portraits especially. But you've gotta widen, you've gotta open up that aperture, and you've gotta increase your ISO to make up for that light you're losing. You can start to see the blurred motion in this one because I've slowed the shutter speed down to 1/100th of a second. Now notice I've also got to change my aperture and my ISO because when you slow the shutter speed down, you are letting in more light. Okay, we slowed the shutter speed way down to 1/50th of a second. This is what it does. This pinwheel was spinning very quickly, and you can tell because the shutter is open longer. And because it's open longer, letting in more light, you're going to have to close up that aperture and keep your ISO low. Okay, now you see what slowing your shutter speed down or speeding it up does to your image. So I really hope that helped. If there's anything else you can think of that you'd like me to do a video about, shoot me a message, let me know, and maybe I can make my next video on that. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.